Hey, hello everyone. It's March 18th. We're going to take a look at the bees today. It's in the low 50s, so we do have some activity. I don't know if you saw my previous video where I took a look at all the hives in mid-January and found all the heavy losses. I'll link that up here in the corner if you haven't seen it already. A lot of comments on that video, a lot of speculation, from viewers as to what happened to the bees. Some people say moisture, some people say too much ventilation. A lot of different comments, some good, some rather rude. But hey, that happens on YouTube. But here's what we have today. Hello, and welcome to our channel. We're glad you're here. That is the one surviving hive. Originally, it was nothing but this center box. After we took all the other dead hives apart, we added the bottom box so they had more room to expand. It's got drawn comb in it and a little bit of honey. And we also added the honey super with some of the honey from some of the other hives that, pardon me, other hives that died. And they still have their sugar cubes and pollen patties on top. Now this hive, why it's the one that survived, I don't know. A lot of people said that I have too much ventilation because of these top covers that I use. Sorry about the sun. Now this one, I've added an entrance reducer to. I should have done that to all the other hives before winter and never got a chance to. On the bottom of these hives, I keep reduced all the way across. This little block here is for a Boardman feeder for the entrance feeders. Now with a hive having a top entrance and a bottom feeder, it's almost like an upside down hive where you have your bottom entrance and you put your feeders on the top to help reduce robbing. So in this hive, before I added the bottom super or the bottom brood box to it, this entire bottom was open. So out of all the hives that I had, the one that had a completely open bottom and a completely open top, so it had absolutely the most ventilation out of all the hives, is the one that survived. What we did find, hopefully we can see this here, this is the kind of comb we got out of the other hives that had died. And as you can see, it is full of bee bread and honey, capped honey on the corner over here. So there's very few open cells on either side. Probably, if we can get this in the sun right to see it. If you can see the sparkly glistening, this side of this comb is full of uncapped, probably sugar water from the fall feeding. In fact, some of it is even kind of crystallized back into sugar. I'm not sure how well you can see that. This frame's pretty heavy. A little bit of honey on it, and mostly uncapped. Here's another one that's all full of bee bread and uncapped and capped honey. So one problem with the bees this year is they had nowhere to cluster. Most of the frames in most of the hives, pardon me, I'm putting the lid back on this one. Most of the frames in most of the hives had nowhere for the bees to cluster. Because as you know, when bees cluster in the wintertime, they go head first into the combs, build the cluster as tight as they can, and then they're able to back out of the comb to regulate the core temperature. So basically they had very little room to cluster. So that's definitely part of the reason they died. I think, like I've said in the past, winter caught us off guard this year, and it was extremely cold. Last several years, we were riding motorcycles to work into December, and this year, beginning in November, it just hit hard, and it hit fast. I was still feeding sugar water because I felt I could do it through November without an issue. The temperatures were staying above 50, and then they just dropped to 30. So the bees were still taking sugar water and putting it in the comb and not having a chance to dry it out and cap it. So that could have led to a moisture issue because they had too much uncapped nectar and or sugar water in there, which is of course going to give them moisture issues. 3 of the hives up front had mice. Normally these top covers help prevent mice getting in, but I never plugged that hole there in the corner where the feeders go, so the mice just went right in there. Now I don't know if the mice were led to the demise of the bees, or if they went into the hive after the bees were already dead, but 3 of them did have mice living in them and a lot of mice damage to the combs. One of the ones up front had a emergency queen cell with a queen that was unhatched in it. So they were still trying to make a queen that late in the year. I think the bees also got caught off guard by the severity and abruptness of this winter. Hopefully this hive here will make it through. It seems pretty strong so far. They're out flying around today. Really haven't paid a lot of attention as far as if they're bringing any pollen in or not, but they're definitely out flying around, which is a good sign. The one beside it here, I just brought this hive back with some of those frames in it for them to rob if they want to rob it out. They did, when I picked up all the dead hives, the one sitting back here, these bees were in that hive doing a little bit of robbing, so I figured if they were doing it before, they can do it again. Might as well give them a little head start. So we'll just have to keep an eye on this one this year and see what happens. I'll have to keep you updated on that, and we'll go back in the house now and do a quick film there and just show you what we pulled out of these hives, besides the combs that had all the uncapped stuff in it. Okay, there is what we extracted so far out of all the dead hives. We're just a hair under 65 pounds of honey. That doesn't include what is in the live hive that we added for them. We still have a medium that needs extracted, but the extractor I made is only wide enough for shallows, so I need to modify it just a hair to extract those. And there's still some in the garage and some frames that need to be cut apart and cleaned up. So they definitely didn't starve. They had plenty of honey. Now, take that back. They definitely had enough honey so that they wouldn't starve, but depending on where it was at in the hive compared to where the cluster was at, they may have not been able to reach the honey, which is always a possibility. But as I showed before, the frames were definitely full of uncapped stuff, which would not only give them nowhere to cluster, but put a moisture issue into the hives. So the true cause of their loss will never fully be known. It may have had to do with moisture, may have had to do with some of the ventilation, but I really don't think ventilation played a key into it, because the most ventilated hive was the one that did survive. I forgot to mention that someone did post a video as a comment on the last video. It's a gentleman, he's probably 30 or so miles northeast of here near Youngstown. I think he said he had 17 or 18 hives and he only lost one. So he was very, very fortunate. I'm not sure if the comment was left that here's a guy close to you that didn't lose any, or what the actual reasoning for the comment was, because it was only a video comment with no other comment with it. But he did say that the bee club he's in, the Columbiana-Mahoning County Bee Association, most of the members were reporting between 50 and 75% losses. So granted, my losses were 90%, but heavy losses in this area of Ohio this year are definitely not unheard of. And I'm sure most of those people in the bee clubs are using straight Langstroth, hives with no different inner covers or top entrances like I do. So it's just been a really, really bad year in Ohio for bees. Hopefully next year we'll be a little more prepared. So hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe, thumbs up, and any questions or comments are always welcome. Thanks for watching.